So I cruised to Alaska and I expected wildlife, beautiful glaciers, but I didn't expect this. So stay tuned to see what I loved and what I found surprising on my trip to Alaska. Welcome to Travel with Zan. So, as you may know, I have just been on a Trans-Pacific cruise, and on the Carnival Luminosa, we went from Brisbane to Seattle via Japan and Alaska. So I put up videos about the Japan part of the trip and some about the actual cruise, and now I'm going to show you around Alaska. So we had 3 port stops in Alaska. That was in Seward, Juneau, and Ketchikan. So after more time changes than a toddler picking bedtime stories, we finally made it to Alaska. Yeah, who would have thought that losing an hour a day would make that much difference? But I really felt like we spent the whole time trying to catch up and try to get to bed early enough so that we wouldn't lose an hour's sleep every night. So it was actually quite a lot harder than I thought, losing that hour a day, but I guess it was still better than losing a whole day. And whilst not sick of the food, we were really glad to be able to see some land and get off the ship and explore Alaska. So Alaska really was a bucket list item for me, so I was really excited about getting there. So our first stop was in Seward. So we had to be processed by the US Border Forces, and they actually came onto the ship and were in the theatre and processed us there. We were lucky we were the first, because we were the last to be processed in Japan. Our deck was the first to be called up in Alaska. So we did get an extra long day in Alaska because of that. Whether I preferred that we got that there or in Japan, I'm not really sure, because I think I would have rathered it in Japan, but at least they did remember that we'd lost half the day in Japan and gave us the time back in Seward. So the processing was very quick, which I later found out when we tried to get back into America from Canada was because we weren't processed properly. We weren't given an I-94, and that caused us a few problems getting back in from Canada. But yeah, it was quick. So Seward's a working port, so it's not the most picturesque port to come into, but we really enjoyed our day in Seward. So it was a really exciting intro to Alaska. The scenery was just stunning. We spent a lot of time just walking around the harbour area, just enjoying the views. It was just amazing. We went to the Alaska SeaLife Centre, which was an absolute highlight for us. It was a really enjoyable aquarium, and it had an absolutely amazing touch pool area and really great staff. And so we spent quite a long time in there checking out the local wildlife, and yeah, we had a really good time. So I highly recommend that one. And when in Alaska, go to try some Alaskan food. So we tried the reindeer sausage soup, which was surprisingly good. This was at SeaSalt, I think it was called, and the food was really good. We had that, a burger, some rockfish bites. The rockfish bites were really nice as well. The burger was a burger, but yeah, it was really good. So definitely recommend the soup. It tastes much better than it looks. Another little highlight in Seward was the little museum at the Seward Museum and Library, and this was a really good little find. It was really interesting. Told us a lot of the history of Alaska, so that was really interesting because it wasn't a place that I knew a lot about. So stop number 2 was in Juneau. So we had a sea day between Seward and Juneau, and I think maybe we should have guessed what was going to happen a bit. So they had a carnival insider, I think they were called, come on the day before, and we thought this was going to tell us more about the ports and what to do in the ports, but it was actually a salesman. I realised since that they don't actually even work for Carnival, so they're a bit like the FE sales people on the ship, so they're just there to sell the shops at the ports. And so this is where the big disappointment for us in Alaska came in. The ports are just full of these touristy diamond gold shops, really overpriced jewellery, really hassly, grabby people in them. So, you know, if you go in, it's virtually impossible to get out of these stores. So that actually kind of wrecked our Alaska experience a lot, and Juneau was full of them. So we had booked the Mendenhall Glacier Explorer tour. So this isn't the one that you go in the helicopter and land on the glacier. It's the one that just takes you up to the Glacier Visitor Centre, and you get to walk up, see the waterfall, see the glacier a bit closer. It was well worth it. I did book the cruise shore excursion because the bus wasn't running up to there yet because we were so early in the season, and I was worried about being able to get a taxi, so I thought it would be best to book the excursion. But we did notice that when we got to the port that you could actually book, there were people at the port that you could book this sort of tour on, so that probably would have been a bit cheaper. But still, it was well worth going on, and I really enjoyed it. The walk up to the visitor centre was just stunning. Like, yeah, it was kind of everything that I thought that Alaska would be. I really enjoyed that experience, and the waterfall and just the scenery was just really stunning. So our last port stop in Alaska was Ketchikan. So this was a bit tinged with sadness because you knew that the whole cruise was coming to an end. After that, there was just one sea day, and then we were arriving in Seattle. But we really liked Ketchikan as well. So down near the waterfront, yeah, it was the same as Juneau, just full of all of these tourist shops and, you know, people trying to sell you stuff really hard. So I didn't enjoy that part of it. But the two things I really enjoyed was Creek Street. So this is like the historical area. It's just up the top sort of the town, and it has all the old houses. There's a lot of really cute shops up there. There is also Dolly's house. So Dolly was a prostitute back in the gold rush, and this is a restored museum type visit. It was only $10 to get in, and it was very interesting. The woman that introduces you, you know, she's in costume. She explains quite a lot of it. She's very interesting. That, yeah, it was worth the $10. We came out the back of that, wandered out down, you know, through the back of the town, like where people lived and stuff. So that was also interesting. So yeah, we really enjoyed up there. Creek Street runs over where the river flows down, and that's where the salmon goes. So if you're there a little bit later in the season, you'll see the salmon, and there'll be bears down there as well. So we missed that. So that would be worth going back again for. I mean, we really wished we'd seen bears, but it was just too early in the season when we were there. So that's something I would think is to try to go later to see the bears. But we did get to see a lot more snow. So, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We enjoyed when we went. We went out to Potlatch Park and also to Herring Cove. So Herring Cove is another place that you can see bears and the salmon. Obviously we didn't see that, but it was nice to see the natural area around Ketchikan. And went to Potlatch Park, which was really fascinating. Our guide Dana, she was an Indigenous woman, and she told the stories really well, so it was really interesting. We really enjoyed that excursion. So this excursion and others can just be booked. The cruise ship just stops right in the middle of the port, and just opposite that is where there is some people selling tours. It's a very small town, so you won't find it hard to find any of these things. So my honest opinion on Alaska. So the scenery, it was just stunning. That sort of edge of the world experience. It was just beautiful. I definitely don't regret going to Alaska. The only thing was that I was surprised that I didn't really enjoy the ports. If I went again, I would probably try to work out how to get out and see more of the countryside. It is hard because you're on a cruise ship and you only have limited hours. We were leaving at sort of 3:30, I think, most days, so we didn't get a lot of time in port. But I think I would research further on how you could get out away from the port areas and see a lot more, because the nature was just stunning. And, you know, we saw wildlife. We saw otters in the sea, in the harbour in Seward. We saw dolphins and whales. It was just absolutely an amazing experience. So I highly recommend an Alaska cruise to anybody who hasn't been on one. I did have reservations about how touristy it was, and I was just really surprised by that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are wanting to go to Alaska, let me know in the comments below. And if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So please like and subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but it means a lot to me if you hit the subscribe button. That would be great. And then you see all my videos about my travels first. So until next time, thanks and bye.